Are you ready? It's time for the Beastcast. Should we get a new intro? Is that something we should think about doing? Is getting a new intro in the new year?
Yeah. 2024 brand new intro.
I think that would be kind of interesting. I mean, we've done the same intro for the past 5 months, but welcome to the Beastcast, episode 35. I didn't really want to put a number on this episode, but I kind of got to because, we're just going down the path. So we're recording this at the end of 2023, but it won't drop until the new year. So let's just pretend like this one came out on New Year's Day. So happy New Year's, and happy going back to work and going back to school after this. It's gonna be absolutely immaculate, I suppose. Yeah. So today we have a very special episode. So our episode is gonna be a little shorter today. And by a little shorter, I mean probably a lot because it doesn't take that long to go through our list. So me and Raven decided for this episode that each of us will essentially do like our little own segment, and we're going to be ranking our top 10 movies. Now, this is in order from 10 to 1. So most of these movies probably weren't bad. If they were, most of them were probably immaculate if they're in our top 10. So just because a movie's at the end of a list doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad movie. We need to get that straight. I should probably turn my mic up a little bit just because I'm going to be going first. But yeah, so just because a movie is on one of our lists, lower on the list, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad movie. And also, I also have like 2 honorable mentions that I didn't put on the list, but I thought would at least want to be acknowledged. This holiday New Year's season, as we end the year off with a banger episode. So I'm gonna project that I'm probably gonna take about 25 to 30 minutes. So this episode probably will be about an hour and ish, hour and 10 minutes maybe at most. So if you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, like, download the show, follow the show on Spotify, Apple, all that stuff, and give us a good 5-star rating. Make sure you do that, because if you don't, we're gonna find you. And 2024, my New Year's resolution is I will find everybody who is not liking this show, and I will do some very naughty bad things to them. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so go ahead and like the show up and get it going. Raven, how was your day before we start?
Yeah, it's great. Nice and good.
Okay, perfect. There was actually a little bit of snow yesterday, so it was perfect. Okay, so I will start with my top 10. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the Watch Mojo style, where the honorable mentions are gonna come after number 2. So it doesn't mean that they actually are like above number 2, but that's just where I'm gonna put it, because you gotta watch till the end of the video. So welcome to Wojo's. Let's go. Welcome to Mojo's top 10. Today we're gonna be ranking the top 10 movies of 2023. So, uh, at number 10. So I'm going backwards, of course, because if I started at the beginning, that'd be lame as hell. So at number 10, and this movie is kind of surprised me a little bit because of the fact that it wasn't in theaters. My number 10 movie is going to have to be The Killer. Now, The Killer
Ooh.
was an interesting choice because this was one of the movies on this list that I didn't really like as much. However, I will say this, I really liked the idea of it, and I thought it was very well shot. Now, I don't like the overall story of it. I thought it was a little bland as a story, but the killings, the ways he kills, the things he uses, and kind of like that whole basically character that he plays is absolutely stunning. I absolutely love that to death. And so that actually brought it into my top 10. I don't even know who plays the killer again. Do you remember who plays the
Yeah,
killer?
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, there you go. So he does a phenomenal job, and he got nominated for best lead role, like male lead role at the Golden Globes, and I hope he wins. Um, he probably won't. We know who it's gonna go to, but um, you know, I would not be mad if he won that award, because he does such a well-crafted job at turning that character. Like, the character was obviously like not the best written character, but it honestly just it just flows so well. Like he just took it into his own. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, he did a good job.
No, absolutely. And that movie, honestly, I'm sure it's not probably on Raven's list, but you know, that movie just it was just fun. And it wasn't even in theaters. I didn't even see it in theaters. I saw it on Netflix, and because it only came out on Netflix. And it was honestly just a nice like 2 hours. It was a little slow at the beginning. I didn't like that first Patrick Bateman opening monologue bullshit. But other than that, that movie was perfectly well done. He just absolutely carries that movie so hard. So that is my number 10 spot. If you don't agree, comment in the yeah, go to the comments and fucking bitch us out because that'd be funny as hell. We appreciate that. We appreciate every single person who comments, especially if you comment negative stuff because it makes us hate ourselves more. All right, moving on to number 9. This is going to be a shocker. This is going to be a bigger shocker than The Killer. Yeah, I know. I know. I can't believe that. Plane.
Oh, yeah, that one. I remember that one.
Dude, at the beginning of the year, this movie dropped January 7th, and it somehow held up in the top 10 from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Now, don't get me wrong. Plane kind of comes under some of the same criticisms I had for The Killer. Although I when I watch Plane, it kind of reminds me of those late 80s, early 90s like Die Hard and like action films like that where they're just it's quirky but also serious in a way, and I love that. And Plane was honestly such a cool concept that they actually announced that they were making a sequel to it. And I honestly hope the sequel does just as good, if not better, than the original, because I would love to see some sort of like Die Hard trilogy come out of this. Because it is absolutely a hilariously like it's not even hilarious in the fact that like it's a comedy movie, but like just the way things are done and how stuff was portrayed. It was just like that quirky, cool, action film. And honestly, the thing about the movie, and a lot of people might disagree with me, its budget was extremely tiny. And they still pulled off and made this immaculate movie. And actually, I think they made like 200 million almost in the or 130 million or something like that, 140 million in the box office off of like a 25 million dollar budget. And that's Gerard Butler too, in Plane as well. And who plays the black guy? I think it's
It's that
God,
guy who plays Luke Cage.
yeah, he played an excellent job. And I just kind of like the movie all around. I just thought it was amazing. And honestly, I didn't want to put it any higher because it wasn't like a top 5 or movie like that, but I just figured it deserved to be in here because of how crafty and how enjoyable that movie was. And you'll notice a trend. I like a lot of action movies, but this one, honestly, I'm gonna be straight honest with you. This might be my second favorite action movie of the year entirely, and that's counting Mission Impossible, and that's counting all those other movies. Um, so I guess yeah, there was so many action movies this year. There was so many. Okay, so that was my number 9. It was yeah, that's my number 9. Raven, what do you think of my number 9 spot there?
That was a good choice. I was actually looking at that one. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. All right, number 8. This is also less of a shocker, but I'm a little bit of a nerd and I really like Chris Pine. Number 8 is got to be Dungeons and Dragons. Now this movie when I first watched it, I didn't know how I felt about it. I was like, you know what, this is a fun little film. Take your kids to go see this film a little bit, like not kids, but maybe go take your 10-year-old or 11-year-old to go see this movie. And even for teenagers and adults, it's actually a hilarious movie to watch too. But Dungeons and Dragons really was something like really special in a way because it kind of gave me that same vibe as like the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Like you get together this band of dimwits and you pull through and defeat some immaculate, person and I just love the style of it, and I would love to, and the reason why I really love this movie is not only did they actually go all out on Dungeons and Dragons here, like getting a good budget, getting good actors, but also because since they made it easier for people like normies to understand, it really opens up the gate to not only open up Dungeons and Dragons to becoming like a normie thing, but also it allows more budgeting and more resources being poured into actually seeing some more good Dungeons and Dragons films. Now, good
Yeah.
if they do there's already apparently announced another sequel for this movie, which is going to be apparently pretty good, is what I've heard. Is they're getting they're stacking the cast right now. They're gonna get a bunch of good actors. On top of the good actors they already had, they had the lady from Fast and Furious. They had Chris Pine. They had the one chick. God, what was her name? I'm gonna look this up now. But yeah, the cast was already the cast was already amazing. Like, they had, yeah, Daisy. I think you say her last name is Head or Heed. She played the villain, and she did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This movie just like this movie is just something else to me. It was just something like a little special. I was like, you know what? This movie, because like it brings out something that we haven't really, like, we've seen Dungeons and Dragons movies before, but like I've never seen it actually done this way, and so I kind of just really liked it. And also, it's just a fun film. Like, you can go watch this movie right now. It's like 2 hours long, and you go watch it, and you're like, huh, you know what? Even if I didn't really like the plot, I still think this is a fucking hilarious movie, and you just have fun with it. It apparently its Rotten Tomatoes is insane. Like, it's like got like a 91% across the board on Rotten Tomatoes, which is fucking crazy. Um, so yeah, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves was my number 8 movie. All right, moving on to number 7. This is no shocker that this was going to be on the list somewhere, but I have to give this to Barbie. Yes, I know. I wanted it on my list, and I didn't want it high because there was some movies that were definitely better than Barbie, but I wanted it high enough that it just made sense to be on here. And Barbie absolutely deserves to be in a top 10 list. Most people's top 10 list might have this movie, most might not. I don't really know. The overall census was people enjoyed Barbie because it has a little bit for everybody. Barbie does. And that's what I thought was interesting. You can look at it from the perspective of it being a feminist movie. You can look at it as a perspective of being, like some fun, quirky Barbie movie. You can look at it being the perspective of, oh, Michael Cera's in this movie, yay, type of shit like that. Let me just say this: the male roles in Barbie were just as good as the female roles. Margot Robbie, first off, I always thought would play a good Barbie. She just is like the Barbie. She just has got that figure. She's got like Barbie's figure. So like it it just made so much sense to me, like, seeing her. I've always thought that when seeing her, and Ryan Gosling and Michael Cera, and all the guys who plays the Kens and the whatever Michael Cera's character's name is. He's got just some random name that's not Ken, but it's all like it all just is so fun. Like, I love seeing it. I saw it in the theaters, in Rochester, Minnesota, when I was going on a trip, and it was just immaculate. Like, to see it on such a big screen like that, because did I see that in IMAX too? No, I didn't get to see that in IMAX because the other movie was in IMAX, Oppenheimer. So I didn't see it in IMAX, but it still was just a fun movie to watch. And I it was the whole thing of the Barbenheimer really did it for me too.
Yeah.
Was like going all day to the movie theater because they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna play Barbie at 9 in the morning, and it's gonna get done at noon, and then Oppenheimer's gonna start at 1, and then that's your whole day pretty much." And I was like, "Hell yeah, this is perfect." And so I did that, and it was just, yeah, it was just fun. And I think that really, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I think Barbie got carried by Barbenheimer, but also it would have been a big movie regardless. But also, putting it on that date also went and made all those other people go see the movie, and I think that's why Barbie really blew up. Is because you had all those people that normally wouldn't go see that movie end up seeing it, because they're like, "Oh, the Barbenheimer, ha ha ha." So,
Yeah. There
but
was that.
but I gotta give it to this movie. I loved it, and I thought it was funny, and I love the art style. I think it's freaking hilarious. Everybody in this movie does a great job, so I gotta give it the number 7 spot. Coming in at number 6, this might be a little bit of a surprise because a lot of people might have forgot about this movie, but it's Guy Ritchie's Covenant.
Oh, I'm so happy you have that one on your list.
The Covenant was absolutely amazing. Now, the thing about The Covenant that I really liked, um, was, first off, Jake Gyllenhaal, finally seeing him in another role since Mysterio that I actually really liked. He was in that ambulance movie. I didn't like that movie, but you know, it wasn't like a big movie, which really surprised me because it's kind of sad that this movie wasn't as big. A lot of people like this movie. Pretty much everybody that saw this movie said they liked it. And for most people I heard said they liked it. But their box office was so low, and it was honestly so sad. And that's kind of why I wanted to I wanted to put this movie on here. I enjoyed this movie so much. I love this movie. If you guys want to see some gritty, nitty military movie about, it's like a Band of Brothers type of thing where, like, I'm not going to leave because I know what's going on and I want to, I don't want to spoil the movie, but essentially, yeah. So it's like it takes place during the Afghanistan war, and it's not like one of those other war movies. It kind of gives me, do you remember The American Sniper? It kind of gives me vibes
Yeah,
like
I
that
do.
in a way.
Yeah.
With Bradley Cooper, I think he played in that.
Yeah, he did.
And it gives me vibes like that. And honestly, I love these war films. Like Black Hawk Down was another one. That was a really early 2000s film, and I love these Afghanistan movies because not only does it show the awareness of war and how bad it is because of the way they portray it, but also you get to see kind of like a perspective of Hollywood that you don't always get to see that often. Because a lot of times war films are never like how they really seem to be. Like a lot of war films are meant to be funny. A lot of war films are meant to be stupid. They're usually comedies like Tropic Thunder or Tropical Thunder, stuff like that. Stupid stuff.
Mhm.
You never like every so often you get these movies like The Covenant and Black Hawk Down and American Sniper where they could be award winning movies. Um
And The Hurt Locker.
Ooh, yes. But The Covenant didn't blow up like American Sniper did and Black Hawk Down did, which means I think that sadly the reign of these movies coming out every so often might go away because it seems like it's not really in demand. But I also want to point out that Homelander's in this movie, so it's really fun. Uh, but the cast was amazing. I love the cast, and the story itself is good. And it seems like a long movie. It's not. It's not a long movie at all. So if you guys have the time to watch this movie, you could probably find this on Prime, I'm sure, or somewhere. If you guys have the time, go watch this movie. I'm telling you, this movie deserves to be watched. It was such a good movie, and I'm so glad that I got to see this movie because my theater wasn't even gonna play it, but then they decided to play it, and I'm so glad they did because it made my day. Honestly, I was like, wow, I'm so glad I got to see a movie like this because you don't get to see it. You only get to see like a gritty war movie like this every so often, like full war, like and it kind of portrays. And I think that's kind of the thing is it kind of portrays the United States as like the bad guys a little bit in a way. Like, yeah, the American wants to help them, but like he's kind of forced to do it without the help of the Americans because they refuse to cooperate. So it's kind of like it. Yeah, I think that's kind of a lot of the. Yeah, I think that's kind of a lot of the reasons because that it's such a low box office. But I love this movie. Okay, speaking of Bradley Cooper, coming in at number 5 is Maestro. I watched this movie recently. It came out very recently. It came out, I believe, right before Christmas. Yeah, that
I
sounds about
never
right.
even heard of it.
So it was a Netflix movie, and I just want to say this right now. For all the people, there was a little bit of controversy about Maestro because it's about uh I think his name's Leonard Bernstein or Bernstein or something like that. Yeah, it's Leonard Bernstein. And he was born in the early 1900s, and he was a maestro, like the guy who like conducts the like band,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, and he's a real guy. And there was a lot of controversy because he was kind of like one of the first openly like bisexual, not really, like he never was bisexual. It was more like he just, had sex and loved whoever. It didn't matter. He didn't really care about gender kind of thing. And so there was a lot of controversy about him as a person when he was alive until he died. And it's kind of like a story of his life and how like he got to the position that he was in, how he became like one of the greatest uh maestros of all time. And I love this movie because first off, I love when we get a good adaptation of the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And it hits all the decades because he lived through them all. And you really get to see the work that was done to make it look way more realistic. They got the actual black and white filters correct for the 1930s, which a lot of movie makers don't do. A lot of filmmakers don't do that. Um, and they got a lot of the filters right. They got a lot of the scenery right. It really just gives you that vibe of being in the time period, and that was what I really liked about it. Also, Bradley Cooper did a phenomenal job as the lead role. I am talking, this was amazing. Like, I would love, like, there's so the he wasn't even nominated for best lead role because it was too late. But I would have gave it to him. Honestly. This was amazing. And Bradley Cooper always has good films, but I just really like this one because of how accurate it actually was. Like, he put the time and effort to learn actually how, he conducted, like how he was as a conductor, and how he conducted the bands and the orchestras. And it kind of reminded me of Whiplash. You remember, with J.K. Simmons? I watched that
Yeah.
recently too, but how Simmons actually wanted to actually learn how to conduct properly so he didn't just look like an idiot. Bradley Cooper did the same thing, and it makes it look so much more realistic and makes it make more sense. And I love that. And the role was just phenomenal. And it was just, the whole movie itself was great. It's a kind of a sad love story about him and his wife, and all their kids. And his wife, well, I mean, I can't really spoil. I'm gonna spoil it because it's a real event. I mean, you can look it up. His wife had cancer, and this was during the time when cancer was hard to treat. In the late 70s, and so it just all became like a big can of worms. And it's just kind of, it's a sad but also very wholesome and an amazingly well shot movie, and that's why it's in my top 5. It just has so many good things, and I'm pissed that Netflix did this with 2 movies. They did this with The Killer, and they did this with Maestro. They didn't release them in theaters. I get you want people to go to Netflix, but it's been shown that if you drop movies in the theater and on streaming, people will go to the theaters and watch them. And this was a movie that you would have wanted to see in a theater. Like, it works in your little home theater, or your on your phone or on your TV, but it would have just been so much better if Netflix would have. Netflix, this is the one thing for your New Year's resolution. Netflix, if you want something, how about your exclusive movies, you actually release them in theaters too? Because it's nice seeing them on Netflix, but and they're doing such a good job with them. Like, Netflix usually has decent originals, but I want to watch a lot of these movies in theaters, and I'm not getting that opportunity because Netflix won't even consider doing it, like how HBO does, like how HBO Max does it, where, like, with the Batman with DC, where Warner Brothers made the movie, they dropped it, and then they're like, okay, in like a month we're gonna drop it on Max. Are you ready? And everybody's like, yeah, and that was perfect. It worked. Or hell, you can even do it side by side. It works. So that's my number 5 movie. Netflix, get your shit together.
Yeah,
Coming
Netflix, don't make good movies and not release them in theaters.
exactly, because you're missing the okay, this is a different rant. Coming in at number 4, this is gonna be a shock, is John Wick Chapter 4. Now, I love this movie, and I don't care what anybody says. It's like that scene from The Joker. I'm tired of pretending I don't like this movie. Okay, I'm tired of pretending that, yes, this movie has a lot of flaws, but god damn it, if I'll tell you one thing about John Wick, they always do something to innovate the damn genre. And
Uh-huh.
that scene, there's one scene in particular, and you know exactly what I'm about to talk about. It's that
Uh-huh.
overhead video game Solid Snake fucking fire breath shotgun scene inside the house. That scene alone, where you damn near looks like you're playing an overhead video game, was so well done that it honestly boosted my opinion of this movie just by itself. Now, the whole movie itself, I love Keanu Reeves, I love John Wick, and it had a great cast, and I loved seeing it all play out. The story was a little mid, and but for the most part, I liked pretty much everything about this movie. There's not really anything about this movie that I look at and I go, I don't want to rewatch this. There, the thing about a movie that I also look at too is rewatchability, and John Wick has so much rewatchability. Every single movie does, because you're always having something to look forward to. And yeah, Keanu Reeves, you can argue, oh yeah, he's kind of he's almost damn near past his prime. The John Wick, the acting wasn't quite there, but it doesn't really matter about the acting if you can act. You don't need to act with your face and your voice if you can act with your body. And Keanu Reeves has always been like that. That guy is he's such an amazing stunt artist. Like, he's so good at making things look real and making hits look real and making fights look real, and that's just kind of his whole thing, and I love that, and I don't care what anybody says, and that's why this movie's in my top 4. I loved to rewatch this movie. I even bought a steelbook of this movie because it was so fucking fun. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that movie,
Enough said.
yeah, enough said, motherfuckers, enough said. Coming in at number 3, I have, and this is gonna really piss some people off because, the top 3 is always meant to be, like your drum roll, like, oh, it's gonna be big. It's A Haunting in Venice. Now, the problem is, I love Hercule Poirot, and I love Agatha Christie's novels, and that's basically all she wrote. She started writing from the time she could write until the time she died. Literally, until the time she died, she was writing. She was writing books. And this is one of her uh, lesser known classic Hercule Poirot stories, one of her ones in her later life when she was older. It's Halloween to Party is the novel. I actually own a copy of this novel. Little and they're just fun. And Hercule Poirot is one of my favorite characters of all time in all of not only cinema but also in novel history. Like there is no character that comes quite close to him. He's like Sherlock Holmes, but like just to me better. Like he's just like he everything like the problem with Sherlock Holmes is, oh, I'm the smartest man alive. I'm so good at everything. Like it's almost like a game to him. But Hercule Poirot, he's just a great detective. That's all he's good at, is just being a great detective. And he uses real logic in real ways and not just some like, well, going by this judging of conclusion by the way his butt mark sat on this, like stupid bullshit like that, like they do in fucking all that bullshit. I just loved this movie so much. And it kind of brought in a specter of Hercule Poirot's story that you never really get to see, and that's how like there's things you can't explain, and I love that. And it was also just a good Halloween movie. I mean, regardless, it was a nice little, scary, boo, spooky, but then also still having that detective, style to it, and it was great. Also, there's a class at Lyon College, where it's murder mystery, it's detective literature. Um, if any of you guys are listening who are at Lyon College, take that class because there will probably be a few in here of Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot novels. Um, you'll love it. So yeah, I love this, and it's in my top 3. It was one of my favorite films. It just came out a good time too. It was a good time in my life too, and it just made everything better. All right, coming in at number 2, we have Spider-Man Across the
Drum
Spider-Verse.
roll. Ooh.
Now, before anybody says anything, yes, I understand that the movie was not fully complete because there's 2 parts. It's a 2-parter movie. Okay, but with that being said, I still put Infinity War in my top 10 in 2018. I didn't say, well, let's wait until Endgame comes out to put it in my 2018 top 10. No, I knew that movie was great, and this movie was great. Now, I loved, first off, the voice acting was amazing. I loved the voice acting from everybody in this movie. Everybody did a great job. I don't care what anybody says. Regardless of the bullshit controversies, the movie looked beautiful, and the people, the artists who had to draw and do all these scenes, props to them because they have been working under the worst time constraints ever. They have been literally being worked like slaves right now to get these 2 films out. And I just wanted to give them that shout out by putting this movie so high because this movie looks phenomenal and I love this art style. And there's been so many people that have tried to mimic this art style and just could not. And it's so hard to mimic. But I love that comic book to cinema to animated style. It just works so well, and it just everything. How quirky they made, like how they make the Spider-Verse is just amazing too. There's just nothing wrong with this film in my eyes. I just loved everything about it. Now, I will say when the second movie comes out next year, which apparently it's still going to come out in March. I don't know how that's possible considering they were on strike for fucking 5 months. But with that being said, okay, I swear they are going to release this in March. And when these 2 movies come together and somebody does one of those online edits where they cut out all the end credits and just stitch it together, it will be one of the best movies you will ever see. These 2 movies combined. I could sit and probably rewatch it a million times. It'd be like watching like a Roald Dahl movie. Like Roald Dahl's books and movies. Like I could just sit there and rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it and always be entertained. And
I
That's
knew
how
it was gonna make your list.
and I love this movie. I don't care. And it might be a little controversial to put it so high, but also considering that it was one of the biggest box office achievements, and it also dropped at the same time that the Super Mario Bros. Movie was sweeping the fucking like box offices and still managed to whip out like $600 million in the box office was insane to me. So I got to give it props for that. Okay, honorable mentions. Dream Scenario. I didn't watch Dream Scenario, that's why it's not on my list. I didn't get the chance to yet, and I've been really busy. And by the time I could get a version, as in a legal copy, yep, totally legal copy, it was too late. I've been too busy. So it's an honorable mention because I'm sure it is a great film, and it has just been on my radar for so long that it just needs to be said. Another one that needs to be said is The Creator. I actually like this movie. We talked about this movie already so much on the Beastcast that if you watch a Beastcast episode, we did a whole episode on The Creator. So if you want to know my opinions on it and why it's where it is right now in the honorable mentions, that's why. It was just a cinematic masterpiece.
Mhm.
Well, visually, for what they did with the budget. Saw X. I like this movie because it surprised me. It was actually a good thrasher horror movie with a good twist, like the classic Saw movies. That's why it's in the honorable mentions. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, because Nintendo thought this movie was going to be ass, and then it swept the box offices so badly that Nintendo actually said, "Oh, well, yeah, I guess we can make another one. I suppose we can make more Nintendo movies." So now, because the Super Mario Bros. Movie did so good, now they're gonna make a Legend of the Zelda movie, and they're gonna make all these other movies that we've been wanting Nintendo to license out to like great filmmakers and directors to make. And then finally is Guardians of the Galaxy. I was really trying to stay away from Marvel, although I have Spider-Man on here. That's technically Sony. I was trying to really stay away from Marvel on here, but I really like this movie. It just didn't really quite fit my top 10. And James Gunn also is a douchebag. So even though he directed a great film, he's still a douche. Yeah. So, but Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was a very good movie, and it deserves to at least be shouted out. By the way, every single movie that I've mentioned, go watch it. Trust me, you will not regret watching it. All right, drum roll, please. All right,
Mm.
coming in at number one is Oppenheimer. I know, I'm gonna be that guy. This movie for me was just first off, I actually I love World War II. I love that time period. I love how it looks. I love the stories. I shouldn't say I love the war because that's a little fucked up. But I love like that wartime, like seeing how everything functioned. And I also love seeing the race to create the atomic bomb. That was just so fun to me. How Christopher Nolan can take a movie that should be boring and make me sit there on the edge of my seat for 3 hours. Like that's just not possible. Cillian Murphy did an absolutely stunning job as Oppenheimer. And I have always been a fan of like that nuclear fusion and fission side of World War II with all the bombs and stuff like that. Like I always thought it was just so crazy how we did it so fast, and this shows you how we did it so fast. How they literally took people away from their families or took their whole families and put them out here to try and bullet this out, to try and beat the Germans to creating a nuclear bomb. On top of that, I also saw this at one of the weirdest times of my life. I saw this movie in IMAX. It was my first IMAX movie. On top of that, I was also in the middle of a busted road trip. Our road trip got screwed up. Everything was going down the drain, and I just needed to relax. And I went and saw this movie on the Barbenheimer, not on the 21st, sadly, but I went and saw both the movies the day after the 21st. And Oppenheimer, absolutely, it was just such a good escape from reality. To see this come to life and to see it finally be done, and how Christopher Nolan, it just shows how he can pretty much direct anything and I will like it. He just knows how to direct films, and I hope he wins a decent it's nominated for a bunch of awards, and I hope this movie wins a decent amount of the awards. It deserves it, honestly. It was a great movie. The only thing was the atomic bomb was a little underwhelming, but it still
They
looked
should have
amazing.
just used the real footage.
Yeah. Honestly, they should have well, I always thought that like they could have took the real footage and not visual effects it, but modernized it by like kind of recreating each part of it,
Mhm.
like on a screen. But then that would have been, oh, we're using digital and but Christopher Nolan, he thinks he needs to do everything his way. So honestly, it still looked good. It just was a little underwhelming, but it still looked great. And also, I want to say that this was the first movie that the actor that of Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid played in. His first movie since Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So Roderick actually accidentally helped create the nuclear bomb, so that was amazing. Shout out to Roderick. Roderick rules. Yeah. Okay. So that was my number one. Christopher Nolan, you did amazing. Thank you for making such a great film. So that is my list. So to go in order one last time, I have The Killer, I have Plane, I have Dungeons and Dragons, I have Barbie, I have The Covenant, I have Maestro, John Wick Chapter 4, A Haunting in Venice, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Oppenheimer as my top 10 list. So let me know what you think of your of my list in the comments or wherever. Or we also have a Discord. You could join our Discord and have a great discussion with us there. That would be interesting. So if you liked my list, thank you. If you didn't like my list, go fuck yourself. Raven.
Exactly.
We're
Because
not
it's
even going
our
to take...
opinion, not yours.
Exactly. And we're not even going to take a break because I figured we're on a roll. So, Raven, I'm going to... The floor is yours. I adjourn. I yield the floor to Raven. Go ahead.
All right. So for me, just a quick mention, because I know I'll probably get yelled at. John Wick Chapter 4 is not on my list because I knew you were going to have it high on yours. So like, just think of it as like that floating angel that's just right there, you know. Duh. It will be, it doesn't need to take up a spot from other movies because it is great.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So my number 10, because I love Nicolas Cage, is Renfield.
Oh, dude, I was gonna put this on my list, but I was like, I bet Raven's gonna put this on his list. I was looking so hard to put this on my list, but I decided not to. I love Dracula.
I love this movie simply because not only because Nicolas Cage does a great job, and because the story is amazing, but there was this vibe to the movie, this kind of really funny 2005 campy vibe that the movie has, that I kind of miss in movies, in modern day movies. Like when I was watching this, and I had a blast the whole time. It felt like I was back maybe 12 years old watching some random brand new movie that made it to the TV nighttime slot, and it was just, to me it was good campy fun. And it showed that, you know, a funny Dracula story can be told, and I kind of want more of Nicolas Cage as Dracula. I want them to expand on this.
No, absolutely. I knew that one of us was gonna have this in the list, and I figured if I mentioned Dream Scenario, you were gonna at least put Dream Scenario on your list, and you were gonna put Renfield on your list. I loved Renfield because I love Dracula. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula, the original. And Nicolas Cage is amazing. We need a Nick Cage Dracula now, please. Oh my god, please.
Yes.
So that's your number 10, huh? Renfield. Wow, that's amazing. You know what? I love that. I love
Yeah.
that pick.
Now, number 9 was actually one of your honorable mentions. I saw this movie 5 times. The Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Yep.
Okay. I thought this movie was actually going to be crap. I'm sorry.
I did too.
I thought it was going to be trash. I watched it, and I was like, that can't. I hit the replay button. I finished watching it, and the first thing I did was I started the movie over from the beginning, and I grabbed more popcorn. There was just something about how Donkey Kong and Mario, when they finally start kicking butt together, just sold it for me, and unironically gave chills. And I love the opening sequence with Mario and Luigi, and how they so okay, screw English.
Oh my god, dude, even I'm messing it up because you're fucking messing it up, you asshole.
It's contagious. How they just just screw it. Seamlessly, here we go, there's a better word. How seamlessly they went from your traditional movie look to suddenly that side scroller where they're going on objects and stuff. It was a beautiful like honor of their games, and just a cool world that where I hope they continue it, and I hope they make better sequels.
No, dude, And that was the thing, is Nintendo was like, yeah, we know this movie's gonna flop. We shouldn't have gave it to DreamWorks, or Illumination. Sorry, we shouldn't have gave it to Illumination. This is all bad. And Doug Bowser and all the president of Nintendo was shitting on it. And then it fucking went off. And then they're like, oh yeah, we'll make more movies. Don't worry. Like, okay, thanks Nintendo.
The most surprising scene in the movie was when they were on the Rainbow Bridge and that dude turned into the blue shell.
Oh, that was awesome.
I felt like an idiot because like I played Mario Kart. I'm like, how did I not notice a spiky blue shell helmet?
Dude.
I should have known that this was going to happen in the movie. Like when it started to happen, I was like, this is amazing.
No,
I felt like a nerd.
That was fucking dude. I was just on like, dude, I was nerding out the whole movie because I love Mario. It was such a good movie.
Now, that's for that. Number 8 is another one of your honorable mentions because it hit home for me a little bit in a weird way. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is actually on my list because I actually cried during it.
I did.
And I didn't watch a trailer for the movie aside from I think the very first reveal that they did. And when I was just sitting in the theater and that opening thing happens where, little baby raccoon, Rocket is a baby. And I realized what stupid, sick movie this is going to be, this real fucked up movie. Like my heart from the very beginning, I felt like I was just watching a tragedy. And sadly, I love tragedies, which is why I kind of love the Joker movie. And to me, I felt like this was a good heartfelt way to end it, even though it's kind of like a little butthurt about it because I wanted them to continue. But that's it. I thought it was a good send off.
I think it was a great send off movie too. Rocket Raccoon, finally being like, finding out all of his origin and all that stuff was just so good. I agree.
Now, number 7. This one's gonna probably get me some flack. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Ooh, whoa! Okay.
I loved this movie. I have all of the previous movies, not Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but the first 3 on their original VHS tapes that they released on. Because my mom had them. And I'm one of those idiots that love Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because why not? And I actually found that this movie was better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I guess doesn't take a lot in some people's eyes. But my mom, who's a huge fan, I bought the Dial of Destiny when it was available on Vudu. I bought it digitally. I bought a digital copy and I played it for her. I was like, here you go, brand new Indiana Jones. Didn't tell her anything about it. She's never even seen a trailer. She watched it, and as a lifelong child fan, she loved the whole movie and said it felt like a classic Indiana Jones adventure, and that it was exactly what she would have wanted from a new movie, and that in her eyes, it didn't ruin the character like idiots were boasting about on their random propaganda YouTube channels. And that's what I like to call them. And there wasn't this overt in your face feminism that again the grifters on YouTube were trying to paint it as. I felt that it was any of those things, honestly. Even though we went and saw it together, if any of that was happening, I probably would have walked out of the movie. I felt enamored on everything I was seeing, despite the shoddy CGI with the train scene in the beginning of the movie that could have used a little bit more work. This was everything I would have hoped it to, and it blew. I didn't even expect it to blow me away with the little thing that happens on the end when they're on the plane, and I'm not spoiling it for people. When they're on the plane and they're doing the final climax of the movie, that to me sold it as being on the top 10 because it fulfilled everything that you need for Indiana Jones, and to me that made it awesome.
That ending was probably the best ending of an Indiana Jones movie, I think, in my opinion. And that's controversial. I love that ending so much. I do.
All right, now number 6. This one's gonna put my credibility on the line. I'm very sorry.
Whoa.
It's I even forget the dude's name. The Pope's Exorcist.
Really? Oh God. You were talking
with Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Yes. This movie was the most hilarious movie I've ever seen. I don't even know if I can count. It's half horror and half not. All I know is I was not expecting, because I never watched a trailer for it. I saw it pop up on my list of websites that I snatch movies from, and I was like, "Oh, Russell Crowe, a horror movie, sweet, let's go." I did not expect it to be a movie where it's Russell Crowe with the crappiest Vatican Italian accent, doing the funniest jokes, talking to a demon while also performing a very serious exorcism. And funny enough, I made someone facepalm when I said this. If you actually watch the movie, which I know for some is a struggle, you can actually turn this into a whole MCU universe, but like of the Pope's Exorcist, because they actually set it up for like 8 different sequels if they wanted.
Oh, dude, that is like haven't even. I keep forgetting this movie even exists, Raven, and you always just bring it back to my mind, and every single time I'm like, I'm gonna watch it. I just forget to watch it, dude. Like it
Dude,
just
just
sounds like the
watch it.
funniest fucking movie ever, and I just forget to fucking that it even is real.
I and it's a very out of but here's the thing. It's still, I'm not lying when I say that this could be the new Constantine universe.
Oh God, here we
All
go.
right. Now the next one. The next one.
Top 5.
Top 5. Evil Dead Rise.
Ooh, whoa.
Yeah. The reason why Evil Dead Rise is on my list is because I understand people's beautiful memories of the other Evil Dead movies and stuff, but I do like this movie, and I do like the 2014 remake of Evil Dead, simply because they scare the living crap out of me. There's an element about these movies and that stupid book and how they portray the demon and possessions in this movie that absolutely terrify me. And both of these movies have one defining scene that you won't get out of your head for a while. And when you finally do get out of your head, you're glad that you'll never remember it until somebody shows it to you again. And this movie had one, and it was the cheese grater going down the leg. And I,
Oh.
I, it
Oh
hurts. I still
God,
feel
dude,
it.
why would you even say that? I just
The
thought of that in my brain. Ouch. Ugh.
The first one was the girl licking up the razor blade,
Ugh.
splitting her tongue in
Oh
two.
my
Yeah,
God. Is
I
that movie
actually
unrated? Please tell me that movie's unrated.
yes, the
Okay.
12, yeah, it's unrated. All right,
Okay.
and now number 4, because that's all that needs to be said about Evil Dead. Okay, it's really screwed up. Number 4 is another horror movie, but this one's a bit different as a horror movie. This one, you mentioned him, it has Homelander in it,
Oh God.
and a Homelander horror movie, Cobweb.
Oh.
This movie had the biggest plot twist. I mean, other people saw it coming or could see it coming. I had a similar guess to what it was going to be, but the plot twist actually, I wouldn't say it blew my mind, but it wasn't what I was expecting. It was like that movie Malignant, where when it actually happens, you're just like, what? The, it, the reason why this movie gets so high on my list is I was about 30-40 minutes into the movie, and I had 2 different ideas about where this plot was going. I was like, "Oh, are the parents screwed up? Or is this kid like the new, Omen movie type of evil kid? Or like, are the parents evil?" And of course, the actor for Homelander does a great job at being a complete serious asshole. And when I was actually getting bored with the movie, I was ready to turn it off. And then I realized that the whole 40 minutes of trying to bore you is actually intended for the movie, because the moment it gets to the big thing, everything it's literally balls to the wall shit going through the fan. And I was just I don't even think I blinked for the next 20 minutes.
Bro's just eyes are just
I
just
just
dead
remember,
black.
yes, my eyes actually hurt after this movie, because I don't think I blinked for the last act of this movie, because it just to me, it just blew me away. So that's all I have to say about that.
That movie released on Barbenheimer.
Yes, it did.
That's hilarious.
Now, number 3, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes. Yes.
Martin Scorsese, in my opinion, went out with a bang. He has movies that are either your taste, not your taste. But one thing can be said, that this man puts quality and time into his cinematic releases.
Okay. I just want to point out something before you continue. The thing about this movie is I knew, because this was a movie that you really liked. Well, yeah, really, really, really liked. I knew you were going to put this on your list. So I was like, I will just save it for Raven, because he's going to say it about it. He's going to say so much better things about it. Like, I love this movie, but you're just going to be able to say it so much better than I will about why this movie is great.
This movie is great because it truly shows that there are things within our own history that never get talked about, or just have been buried in general, that happened to unfortunate groups of people that got taken advantage of simply because they dared to simply live on a land that was filled with oil, and the white man came along and decided, hey, we'll dig it up for you. And then other white men got jealous that the natives got rich off of doing absolutely nothing, and they started killing them for their rights for it, in very screwed up ways, such as marrying them and then poisoning them, or straight up marrying them and then murdering them. Or if the mom did die by quote unquote natural causes, they just went ahead and decided to kill whatever kids they had to get the rights to it. It's a really screwed up movie about a very serious time that happened to the Osage tribe down there in the Osage Nation of Oklahoma. And I feel it's a movie that everybody should watch simply for historical purposes.
No, I 100% agree. And you know, it's one of Scorsese's last films too. He claims he's gonna be making films till he dies, but we both know that's not true. And I don't know when's the next Scorsese film's gonna come out, but it could very well be one of his last films. So that too,
Yeah.
if you're a Scorsese fan too. So yeah, but yeah, I love that pick. I agree with that so much, 100%.
Now, number 2. Number 2. Woo. I am a screwed up person. Um, I admit that. And number 2 goes to Saw X. Okay.
Whoa, yeah.
I I actually don't like most of the Saw movies. I only like 1 and 2, maybe 3 if you're really pushing it. But for me, they kind of lost their flavor after the second one. And Saw X blew me away because I didn't expect the story to be what it did. Again, never watched a trailer. I think that's what heightened most of my experiences with these. I never watched their trailers unless it's like something big where I know I have to see it, like the Godzilla trailers. But for Saw X, I was like, oh, new Saw movie. Okay. And so I pop it in, and I'm going to be honest, I enjoyed every moment of those people dying. That's all that has to be said.
That is so fucked up. What? What?
They deserved it.
I mean, yeah, okay, no, I get that. Yeah, that.
This is the one movie where they kind of deserve it.
Yeah, they deserve it 100%. But at the same time, it's like, oh, you know, he's the anti-hero. You know, it's like he's an unreliable narrator. You know, because like he does good things for a bad reason. You know, or he does bad things for a good reason. Sorry.
And I liked the scene between him and the little boy on the tilt table. I felt like that was, a really good moment in the movie, in my
Because it showed
opinion.
Kramer's character more than anything. That he's
Yeah,
not
it
really a
did.
monster.
It makes the viewer even more conflicted because they know this guy in previous movies is doing horrible, screwed up things to people simply because they made mistakes in their life. And now they're watching him show a type of character where they're like, but I don't want to like him. It's conflicting. I kind of like that confliction.
No, absolutely. That is a writing style called an unreliable narrator, where the narrator does very bad things, but they're also not evil or bad. It's a writing style that has been around forever. And more movies really need to take advantage of this. Thanos is a perfect example of an unreliable narrator or an anti-hero, where he's not necessarily really a villain. He's trying to do it for a good cause in a little bit, in a way, and he's not wanting to be the villain, but it just leaves him no choice, sort of thing. I mean, Kramer has a choice, which was always the argument, is you don't have to do this. There's other ways to punish these people. But that's just his way. That's just his way of life, so.
Now I'm gonna copy what you did, and I'm gonna list my honorable mentions before my number one.
All right.
If that's okay. And I'm also gonna cheat. One of them is a 2022 movie.
That's fine. I don't give a fuck.
Because I just discovered it now. Because if I had discovered it last year, it would have been in my top 10 for last year.
Okie dokie.
So, honorable mentions. One of them you're gonna hate me for actually having on this list. Honorable mentions. Kandahar. It's a war movie. Gerard Butler. He plays one of those CIA operatives in the land of Afghanistan, and something happens to where his cover is blown along with his translator's cover, and they have to try to flee together. It's actually a really good movie. It kind of mimics Guy Ritchie's The Covenant just a tiny bit, in a different way, though not based on a true story. And they came out almost at a similar time, which is kind of really funny. But I like Gerard Butler's. It's a very serious movie. I liked it. You know, horrors of war type of thing kind of sucks.
Yep.
On the next honorable mention is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I wanted to put it on this list, but because I love Jake Gyllenhaal, but I just couldn't. Barbie. I enjoyed the hell out of Barbie. I really did. But there were other movies I saw this year where, when I think back to 2023, Barbie is only kind of there for the memes because I'm just Ken. And I have other movies, though, that make this list to where they're the things that I'll look back to 2023 and define it as. The next one, another Nicolas Cage movie, Sympathy for the Devil. I actually love this movie.
Whoa.
But there's no room.
There's no room.
There's no room. And I think other people should like it too, because it was a really, 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 really great movie. Now, my 2022 movie is The Greatest Beer Run Ever.
What?
It's a movie with Zac Efron. It takes place during the Vietnam War. It's basically about Zac Efron playing a guy who does nothing really with his life. He goes to a bar, comes home drunk to his parents' house, and they want him to try to aspire to be better things. And Vietnam's going on, and everybody has that whole thing of maybe they should serve, maybe they shouldn't. And him and his friends and a bartender are sitting there one night, and they're like, hey, you know what, I would like for at least somebody to be able to, to go over there and tell our boys from this town that they're doing a great job, we're thinking of them, and hand them a beer. And Zac Efron's character's like, there you go, there's my goal in life, I'm gonna go do that. And so he basically hops aboard a ship, smuggles himself to Vietnam with an entire big gym bag filled with beer cans, and he goes on delivering them to people who went and served from his town.
Dude, what?
Yeah, it's actually based on a true story of a guy called Chicky Donahue.
That's actually hilarious. I've never heard of this movie ever, I don't think.
True story. Yeah, and he got away with it because during his original arrivals, it was never really said in person. The movie has him know, even though technically in real life it was never mentioned to him. But the military soldiers went along with him being there because of how he dressed, and the way he dressed as your casual tourist usually in that time meant you were CIA. So they thought he was CIA when he wasn't.
Oh, that's actually that's a crazy plot. I want to watch this now. the fuck?
It
I
is.
never even knew it was a movie.
It's awesome. Now, the last one, and you're going to endure me on this one because I just want to mention it super quick. It's surrounded by a bunch of idiots on both sides of the aisle when it comes to it, but I'm still going to mention The Sound of Freedom.
Oh, I thought you were gonna mention the other movie. Okay,
No,
go ahead. Go ahead.
no. For me, I feel like nobody gives this movie a fair chance simply because either they bought retarded propaganda and they're seeing a bunch that I blame the creators of the movie for this because they go on the television and they prop it up as something that it's not. No, there's no conspiracies in this movie. There's no mentioning of all the dumb crap that fuels the right-wing political arena. And there's nothing that blames any of this movie on Democrats either. Like they try to position themselves. And it made, of course, all the other media paint this movie in the weirdest light. This movie should be something people watch because it actually points out a more horrible thing. One, child trafficking, and two, the lives of the FBI agents who actually have to deal with this crap every day of their lives. If somebody right now gets arrested for CP, child pornography, there's an FBI agent that has to go through all of their computer files and they have to watch all of the videos and they have to document everything happening to them, to that child. That takes a mental toll on an agent. And this movie kind of just honors the agents who want to do good in the world, but sometimes our federal government or just the government in general says, well, we can't break jurisdiction and we can't go do that. So we're sorry. And, people just want to save kids. I feel like it should still be on everybody's list. Ignore politics about it. Politics aren't even brought up in this movie. So just
yeah, that was so weird how they made it a political movie. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, I got mad at my own family for that shit.
Oh, my family was all on that. Oh, it's such a good Republican movie. What?
Yes, see, here's the thing. Even though my political views align with some of my family, I got mad at them for what they were doing because I'm like, there are people out there who could benefit from watching this movie simply because it is based off of a true event. Although the last scene of this movie is a little inspired and not actually something that happened. But the one thing, much kind of like this Killers of the Flower Moon, more natives were killed in Killers of the Flower Moon than the movie stated. And in here, for Sound of Freedom, more kids were actually saved than the movie showed. It's just the operation that they did was so big, which kind of pissed me off that they wasted the last scene on some Solid Snake type of scenario rather than just what actually happened in that last part. But I hated my family for doing it because I'm like, you're steering people away from this movie. And this studio is steering people away from a movie that they finally produced that was good, all for the sake of election and political propaganda that's not even in the damn movie itself. They did it a disservice. They ruined their own works because of it.
No, absolutely. I don't understand why people ever try to do that bullshit. All right, Raven.
But it's still now number one. I talk too much. I'm sorry. Number one, because that is all my honorable mentions. Number one is No One Will Save You.
I thought you were about to do the biggest curveball when you didn't put it in the honorable mentions, Raven. I swear to God. I thought you were going to fucking put Aquaman on.
Here's something funny enough. Aquaman was going to be on there.
Okay. Well, let's just save the trouble and we'll talk about that on the Beast Unleashed.
Yeah, we'll talk. I'll go on I never went on my creator rant, but I'll go on a rant for Aquaman. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, No One Will Save You. This movie, I had no idea that it was like a thing that was coming out, and I had no idea that it was. I don't know. Some people had anticipation for it, but the funny news behind this is 21st Century Fox was making this movie. It was supposed to be bigger and have a different story, and they already shot a lot of the scenes that have the good CGI in it. And then the writer's strike happened, and 21st Century Fox was like, well, we're not going to waste our money. So they edited it in a way where somehow, without the whole story that it was supposed to have that would be completely different, there was still a story that they found there. and I actually liked it. I'm a sucker for alien movies, and to me, No One Will Save You has that very mysterious, um like the ending will have you wondering what the hell is going on, but if you actually watch it 2 or 3 times, you actually start to understand the meaning behind it and how, screwed up the world can actually be. It's just one of those out there, out of nowhere movies that I will always remember 2023 for.
No, I think that's a great, because that kind of just reflects kind of who you are. I mean, both of our lists exactly reflect kind of like our personality. So I think no, your list was absolutely perfect. So Raven, what was your list in order?
In order from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1?
10-1.
Renfield, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, The Pope's Exorcist, Evil Dead Rise, Cobweb, Killers of the Flower Moon, Saw X, and No One Will Save You.
Perfect. So, yeah, I mean, both our lists are amazing, and you hit a lot of the movies that I didn't hit because I either knew you were gonna hit them or like I just simply like, I liked it but I didn't put it on the list. I think our lists are perfectly sum up exactly what 2023 was. It was fucking crazy. There was a lot of weird shit that happened this year. It was a good year for films though. It was a great year for films.
It was a great year.
I'm telling you what, this actually might surprise people because usually films supposedly are getting worse each year. But I think 2024, and I'm going to say this wholeheartedly going into 2024, I think 2024 is going to be a better year for the cinema than 2023 was. And we had Oppenheimer and Barbie on the same day. I know. But I think cinema in 2024 is going to be massive. There is so many good movies coming out next year. Our lists at the end of next year are going to be stacked. Oh my god.
We might have to do a 15.
We might have to do a 15. I almost thought about doing a 15, but I was like, no, then it just kind of ruins it, and I wanted to make it a short episode, so it was kind of special, and like it just kind of ruins it a little bit if you do 15. Like Christmas movies, that's one thing, but oh man, dude, I'm so glad Christmas is over though.
Now we get to move into the greatest year ever.
Yeah, 2024, the year of the hog. Wait, no, what is it?
I have no idea.
I don't know what the Chinese, whatever.
I'm gonna feast on whatever animal it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to the Beastcast. Did you enjoy our list? Raven, did you enjoy my list?
I did. I enjoyed your list.
We enjoyed each other's list, which means that your opinions don't matter. All right. So thank you guys for thank you guys for listening, and also our Beastcast, our Beast Unleashed next week will, or I guess on Friday, because you're listening to this on Wednesday. So our Beast Unleashed this week will be on a few rants, but also I have a special topic that I want to bring since something massive happened while we were away from the whole Beastcast. Something massive happened that I did and I created. So we're going to focus a little bit on that too. But we're also going to focus on some rants about a new movie that involves a Seaman who, Seaman, that involves Jason Momoa. So, thank you guys for listening. Raven, anything else you want to say?
Have a good, happy New Year.
Yeah, I hope your New Year's was amazing. Have a happy New Year, and hope 2024 is gonna be your year. This is your year, dude. This is your year. You're gonna get that guy or girl. You're gonna do it. You're gonna get them. You're gonna get them this year. I believe it. See,
yep.
All the other years they were warm up. This is the game.
Yeah, this is it. You finally have the van, and you have a route.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, like, follow, share, do all the fun stuff, and we will see you in the new year. No, I'm kidding. It's already the new year. All right. Bye, guys. Oh shit. End it. Ah!